Howdy, folks. We're going to do it again tonight just because, well, we've got the opportunity and just kind of like to. So, part of what I'd like to touch on, well, number one, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to pack a pipe correctly. The hell did I put my pipe? There's my pipe. I always like the Sherlock type. You can see we don't necessarily have a lot of light. Well, the downside is that's kind of the nature of doing these things later on at night in Seattle. The goal is to eventually get a light out here, otherwise I'm going to have to do a lot more of these on Sunday morning. But, got my pipe, a little bit of leftover wine, and just a few minutes to see if I can get this thing to work. So ultimately, I think one thing that I really want to touch on, because it's been coming back to me with some regularity, is the concept of ownership. And what I mean by the concept of ownership is, I know a lot of unhappy folks, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but a lot of the unhappiness comes from a feeling of lack of control. You know, you just don't necessarily have a lot in life that's settling for you, if you get my meaning. And had a friend of mine comment on Facebook today about how, you know, someone told him that they were the most negative person that they knew, and she was a little taken aback by that. That seems about right there. And for me, it screamed out that it sounded like someone had touched on a little bit of a insecurity for her there. And I was reminded of the great statement that, you know, if you meet an asshole first thing in the morning, you've met an asshole. If you meet an asshole the rest of the day, well, reasonable chance you might be an asshole. Not suggesting that she is by any stretch. Mind you, I certainly could have opinions one way or the other, but I don't necessarily have anything ill to speak about the poor gal. But I accept the fact that I'm a little bit uncommon from the perspective that I'm largely unfazed, and I seem to keep going, even though I might not necessarily want to. I can safely say there's a lot of times I don't want to, but I keep going. And there's a long time I was tempest-tossed. And by that, I mean I was a constantly reactive person who didn't really know what to do about most of anything. And I blame my upbringing, I'd blame my school, I'd blame my parents, I'd blame my wife, I'd blame my kids. Blame the fates who saw fit to saddle me with this unwholesome face and this unwholesome temperament. And you know what? I bitched a lot. And I complained a lot. And all I saw was all the miserable stuff that was happening to me. Well, let's see if we can make this work. Supposedly this is packed correctly. We're going to test this out, seeing as I seem to be lacking cigars as of late. Now, the first one is apparently supposed to be just kind of the braising fire. Second one ought to be a little bit deeper, or so I'm told. If anyone could give me tips on my pipe smoking, that'd be more than welcome. If anyone can tell me how to keep my damn humidor humid, that would also be welcome. By the way, I'm a big fan of matches. Oh! a mighty drag. But it certainly did suck it down there. That's... So I purchased some shitty tobacco with the intent of testing out smoking this pipe. Should have invested in better tobacco. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Is the light better that way? Probably still in shadow, so we'll just kind of do a little combination of that. So ultimately, came a time when, both as an adult and as a dad, I'd run out of excuses. And I couldn't keep being a good dad if I was going to let my kids make excuses like I was doing. Letting them blame their circumstance or their birth date or this time of year, that time of year. And it's not just... It's not just a question of taking ownership of your choices. It's a question of viewing decisions as choices and facing the consequences, good or bad, whatever they might be. I'm gonna try this in a better light. It's not a ton better, but it'll work for now. So the idea being that you're going to become what you choose to be, no matter what. And if you're reacting, you're letting other people choose who you're going to be. And I reacted a lot, and I became weak. And I became confused, and I became tempest-tossed. I'd already used that, but I really like the metaphor. I'd become lost in the maelstrom, finding time in the doldrums, giving up, feeling the burdens of life. Well, it's been probably 10 years since I was thrust into the reality of exactly how little control I had over my life. And how even if I was in 100% control of everything that I did, other shit would still happen. And kind of fuck that up. And so, you gotta kind of learn to step away from letting things do that to you. Letting things decide how you're going to respond to them. Taking the time to deliberately make your choices. You have to recognize how much of your life is your own making. And you have to be willing to admit when you're wrong. You have to be willing to not just recognize when you're wrong, but step forward and say, hey, you know what? I fucked up. I apologize. With clear sincerity. You have to be willing to listen to other people's viewpoints and not necessarily shut them down just because they're not your viewpoints. You have to really go forth kind of humbly and certainly take the credit for the things that you've done, but recognize the contribution that other people have made. I can't say that I've done amazing in life, but I've done a hell of a lot better than was expected of me. I was a second graduate in a family of 6. 25 years ago, I was working in a movie theater, praying to God that at 40 I wasn't managing a KFC. But I've succeeded. My father-in-law got me my first construction job. My wife stayed with me. I The Pirates helped me get my first travel job. Certainly, I pursued a lot of stuff on my own. I do take credit and pride in the fact that I sought out Toastmasters because I really had a good joke to tell. I take pride in the fact that my sponsor turned me into a good pirate. I take pride in the fact that my wife put up with a whole lot of my shit over the years. And I take pride in the fact that while I did my best to be a good dad, my kids earned their accolades on their own. I didn't teach Patrick to play the guitar. I didn't teach Nathan to pole vault. They did it on their own, and I'm proud of them for it. And they should own that. But ultimately, it's not just enough to make your own choices, and to keep yourself on track. You also have to make a conscious choice to do your best to help improve other people's lot. You know, not only don't be a stumbling block, but look out for the stumbling blocks for them. You know, you have to give a little bit more than you expect to get, and be grateful for what you do get. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for all the people who hold me in high regard. I'm genuinely humbled by their affection because, honestly, I really don't see the awesome that they tend to see, but they're all very, very complimentary. And I got a lot of friends who don't necessarily see how awesome they are. Half of you people watching this probably don't realize exactly how awesome you are. Because comparison's a bitch. Don't compare yourself. Be you. Keep going forward. I really wish I had better light for this. We're working on it. I don't know how well you can see the cigar room of doom right now. It's kind of in a bit of disrepair, and in all honesty, I'm actually standing in the middle of a bed frame that long since should have been moved. But even with all that, I'm making the choice to keep doing this, making the choice to keep talking to you folks. If I can help make things better for you, let me know, because I can safely say you all make it better for me. I apologize again for the shitty lighting, but, you know, be nice to other people, because everyone can stand to be nice to. And be nice to yourself, because you're people. I'll be back to another one of these within the next few days. And thank you very much for your understanding. Have a great night.